How can one person be one of the biggest pop stars of our generation? The only artist to win Album of the Year 4 times. The first artist to generate over $2 billion on a single tour. And still somehow be one of the most clowned, mocked, and disrespected artists on the internet. Like what? My name's Maya, and in today's episode of Give 'Em Their Flowers, we gotta talk about Taylor Swift. She was born Taylor Allison Swift on December 13, 1989. Now, it wasn't one of them rags to riches stories. Now, homegirl grew up comfortable. Her dad was a stockbroker and her mom's was a marketing executive. She grew up in this beautiful crib. They had a summer vacation crib, and they also spent a lot of time on their Christmas tree farm. From an early age, Taylor was drawn to music, partly inspired by her grandmother, Marjorie Finley, who was a dope opera singer back in her day. In fact, later on in her career, Taylor wrote a song dedicated to her grandmother. Taylor was also big into country music, man. She studied the greats, finding herself drawn to storytelling music that explored themes of heartbreak, love, revenge. She took every opportunity to perform wherever she could, man. School plays, karaoke nights, talent shows, fairs, local theater productions. She even got to perform the national anthem at a basketball game when she was only 11 years old. Her parents were like, yo, this kid really loves this music thing. So they got her into vocal and acting classes. They also hired Ronnie Kremer, a local musician / computer technician dude, to teach her how to play the guitar. The whole Taylor learning how to play guitar thing would actually go on to become one of the first controversies. Nothing major, just worth mentioning. Basically, later on in interviews and stuff, Taylor would talk about how this computer technician dude was, at her crib fixing up their computer and whatnot, and he noticed her guitar in the corner, and he was like, hey, do you play? And she was like, nah, but it would be dope if I could. And he was like, wow, it just so happens that I'm a beast at guitar. And he taught her, the basics, taught her how to play, which is a lovely story. Like, I can see that scene in like a Taylor Swift biopic or something, right? Chance encounter, random computer dude does up the Mr. Miyagi and helps play a part in creating this global superstar. But then Ronnie came out and was like, nah, that's not how it went down, okay? He's like, I was hired by Taylor Swift's mom. We did up a demo. I worked with her 2 days a week for $32 an hour. Homeboy went on to create a website, ITaughtTaylorSwift.com. And it became this whole legal thing. It became a mess. Honestly, the whole thing is not that deep, man. When it comes to origin stories, there's a lot of he say, she say, people bringing up stories of how they met. What we do know for certain is homeboy did teach Taylor Swift how to play the guitar. And he talks about how, at first he was skeptical, like this is just some rich family that wants their kid to learn an instrument. But Taylor surprised him. She did. She surprised him with how serious she took it. She was putting him the time and effort. And he's gone on record saying she's one of the best students he's ever had. What we can take away from this is this was a kid who music wasn't just like a little side hobby. It was a passion, an obsession. She knew what she wanted to be. And her parents recognized that. And they moved to Nashville, Tennessee, the heart of country music, so she could chase this dream for real. Now listen, moving to Nashville, it doesn't automatically make you a star. The city is full of people with guitars and dreams. It's like the country music equivalent of being a struggling actor in LA. Every coffee shop, every little bar, every open mic night, somebody in there is trying to become the next big thing. What made Taylor stand out was how focused she was at such a young age. Homegirl was out here writing songs constantly, like back to back constantly. Not just, I want to sing, I want to be famous. Nah, she was out here putting in the work. Now, she was obsessed with songwriting specifically, and that ended up becoming her superpower, because while a lot of teenage artists were getting songs handed to them by out-of-touch grown adults in boardrooms who are trying to figure out what the kids like, Taylor was out here writing about her actual life, the crushes, the awkward moments, her little romantic fantasies. It was like a specific teenage girl's diary, and girls like her connected with it because, there was nothing else like it. And eventually she started gaining traction around Nashville, getting a little buzz. So she's getting development deals, starts performing more, she starts meeting industry people, and at only 14 years old, bro, she becomes the youngest songwriter ever signed by Sony at the time, which is crazy because before she was even like famous, the industry could already see she has something. So now she's in rooms, writing with more experienced writers, banging out demos, sharpening her pen. But Taylor and her family, they eventually leave that deal because she wanted to actually record her own music and put it out. She didn't want to be a songwriter behind the scenes. She wanted to be the artist. So she's back on the grind, doing up shows, and one of these is at the famous Bluebird Cafe. Now, this joint is a small venue, but it's legendary, you know what I'm saying? It's like a rite of passage for most up-and-coming country musicians, and a lot of legends got their start performing there. We're talking Keith Urban, Faith Hill, Garth Brooks, and them. And it's during this performance that she links up with music executive Scott Borchetta. Homeboy was blown away by what he saw, so he hollers at her like, "Hey, listen, I'm doing up a brand new label called Big Machine Records, and I want to sign you as my first artist." Now, this right here, huge gamble, because Big Machine wasn't some giant powerhouse label yet. This was basically a brand new startup. But Taylor saw how much this dude was feeling her music, how much he believed in her, so her and her family were like, bet, let's do it. And low-key, that gamble changed everything, because in 2006, Taylor drops her first single, Tim McGraw, and country music audiences start paying attention real quick. Not just because she could sing, but because she felt authentic. She wasn't trying to sound older than she was. She wasn't pretending to be super glamorous. She wasn't trying to do up the whole teenage rebellion thing. She was just this curly-haired teenager writing songs about feelings, relationships, and small-town life. And a certain demographic, a certain kind of teenage girl, connected with it. Like, wait, that sounds like me. That connection was everything. That in 2006, Taylor drops her self-titled debut album, Taylor Swift. Now, this wasn't one of them huge overnight viral success stories. Because remember, it was still a country album. And this is 2006, bro. Songs that were topping the charts were Rihanna's SOS, Shakira's Hips Don't Lie, Nelly Furtado's Promiscuous Girl, Beyonce's Irreplaceable. Taylor Swift's album didn't have this immediate big impact on the culture. It kind of grew slowly, through country radio, through MySpace. Yeah, through MySpace, your peeps putting her songs up as their profile song. She was touring non-stop, small intimate venues, connecting with her fans, and teenage girls were putting her lyrics as their MSN statuses and MySpace captions. The people that were feeling her music were really feeling it. Songs like Teardrops on My Guitar, Our Song, Picture to Burn, and Should Have Said No started turning Taylor into one of the biggest new stars in country music. But even as she was slowly blowing up, everything felt, small and personal. Like there was no larger-than-life celebrity persona here, just a girl singing about what she was feeling. It was awkward, emotional, dramatic, and it was all very country, okay? Cowboy boots, curly hair, acoustic guitar, doing up country award shows. But she was bringing in a younger audience into country music in a way that industry hadn't really seen in a long time. And in 2008, everything goes crazy because that's when Taylor drops her second album, Fearless. And yo, this right here, this was the joint that turned Taylor Swift from promising young country artist into an actual global superstar. Fam, you got Love Story, you got You Belong With Me. Like, this was my first introduction to Taylor Swift. I remember seeing the music video for You Belong With Me, and I love music videos that told a story, Teenage Dirtbag, Stan, and I love the whole cheesy rom-com vibe they were going for. And yo, it was annoyingly catchy. I caught myself just humming to it, just randomly, just going, baby, can't you see? You belong with me. Listen. These songs were everywhere. And what made them hit so hard was even without the music videos, they felt visual. They felt sincere, unpretentious. Yeah, it was a little corny, not the kind of joint you'd throw on at a house party, but that's exactly what was dope about it. It wasn't meant to be seen as cool or liked by everybody. It literally felt like the diary of the 15-year-old girl in the 2000s. Hey, yo, she's allowed to be dramatic and corny and have these huge crushes and get her heart broken after talking to somebody for 3 weeks. It was supposed to be that. And yo, people connected with it. And now the awards started flooding in. Country awards, MTV awards, American Music Awards. The industry loves her. Parents love her. Teenagers love her. The label loves her. America basically starts looking at Taylor Swift like, oh, look at this wholesome, talented young country girl living her dream. She was becoming America's sweetheart. But while Taylor was gaining millions of fans, she was also quietly gaining something else. Haters. Because anytime somebody gets this big, this fast, people start looking for reasons to humble them. It be like that. Some people thought she was way too overrated. Some people thought she couldn't really sing. Others felt like her music was too safe, too emotional, too white girl with a guitar. And low-key, that tension between being deeply loved and deeply mocked, it would follow Taylor her entire career. But yo, in 2009, something changes because one night at the MTV Video Music Awards, Taylor Swift walks on stage, happy. She's about to accept an award for You Belong With Me. And that's when Kanye West rocks up and grabs the microphone.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. One of the best videos of all time.
Now, obviously, in that moment, this must have been like a nightmare for Taylor Swift. But you know what they say, right? No publicity is bad publicity. Because this moment had people talking. It had people who had no idea who Taylor Swift was talking about her. Even Barack Obama, President of the United States, chimed in. For the most part, it was people siding with Taylor, feeling sorry for her, going in on Kanye. Before the VMAs, a lot of people outside country music only vaguely knew who Taylor Swift was. But after that interruption, everybody knew her name. She became the symbol of sweet, innocent young artist gets embarrassed on live television. And the timing was perfect, man, because this was when people cared about award shows. Like now, most people just see little clips and headlines about who won and, what went down, and we go about our day. But I remember watching award shows, man, front to back, MTV Music Awards, VMAs, Nickelodeon things, and you'd celebrate when your favorite won. It was like a great way to discover new artists as well. Like someone gets nominated and you're like, hey, who this? And you look them up and you check their music out. So a lot of people actually saw the whole Kanye West Taylor Swift moment in real time. And yo, even people that didn't listen to her music were like, bro, let that girl have her moment. And honestly, Taylor handled it really well publicly. She didn't clap back. She didn't go on some angry media tour. She didn't ask her fans to cancel him. She just kind of chalked it up to the game and kept them moving, which only made people rock with her more. And the crazy thing is, while all this drama is happening, Taylor's career is still exploding, even more so. Fearless becomes one of the biggest albums in the world. She starts crossing over from country into full mainstream pop culture. And now she's not just performing at country award shows, she's doing up the VMAs, the Grammys, talk shows, magazine covers, movie soundtracks. Homegirl is becoming unavoidable. And then in 2010, she wins Album of the Year at the Grammys for Fearless, at only 20 years old, which makes her the youngest artist ever to win that award at the time. Now, here's the thing, the bigger Taylor Swift got, the more divided people became on her. And this is when the internet starts creating the first real Taylor Swift discourse. Some people saw her as talented, relatable, hardworking. Others, started seeing her as overexposed, annoying, overpraised. People started clowning the way she danced, the way she sang, her surprise face at award shows. It's like whatever she did, there was someone there to like make fun of it. And the one criticism everybody kept banging on about was how most of her music was about her past relationships. People were like, hey, all she does is write songs about her exes. That joke was everywhere in the late 2000s, early 2010s or whatever. Taylor dates somebody, the internet immediately starts counting down till the breakup song drops. And low-key, Taylor wasn't doing anything new, okay? In the history of music, there have been many concept albums that focus on relationships, falling in love, breaking up. You've got legendary artists who've only ever sung about love or heartbreak. So when Taylor got criticized for it, it felt like people were just looking for a reason to criticize her, you feel me? It wasn't like it was the whole picture. But again, Taylor leaned into the jokes, she took the criticism, flipped it, and kept it pushing. The one bit of criticism that did get to her though, the one that irked her, it got under her skin, was how all the critics were talking about how the only reason she had hits was because of the people she was around, okay? The people she wrote with. And again, it was a weird thing to criticize, especially in the pop country music space, because it's all about songwriters, co-writers, collaborators. Bro, Whitney Houston's biggest joint was written by Dolly Parton. Beyonce's worked with songwriters. Elvis barely wrote a single song in his entire career, bro. And then you got like people like Rihanna and them. Everybody's been in a room with another writer, a musician. Sometimes it's a whole team of writers. But somehow they were trying to use this against Taylor Swift. And as someone who grew up writing songs and valuing storytelling and songwriting, she felt disrespected. So in 2010, she drops her third album, Speak Now. And for this joint, she was like, I'm gonna write the whole thing myself. 14 songs plus the extras, no other co-writer, nobody adding a single line or melody, no one coming up with ideas and hooks. Nah. She was like, y'all been sleeping on my pen game, and she wrote every single song, which at the time became a huge talking point, because now she wasn't just proving she could make hits, she was proving she could really write. And Speak Now feels like Taylor entering her, okay, I got something to say era. The fairy tale teenage innocence, it's still there, but now there's more emotion, more frustration, more self-awareness. You can literally hear her growing up in real time. And one thing Taylor was becoming really good at during this era was making fans, get obsessed with decoding her lyrics, because she'd write songs so specific that people started turning into detectives trying to figure out, who this song about? Like Homegirl had the internet doing FBI investigation over scarves and eye contact. And while that made fans more invested, it didn't help with the whole the girl who turns every relationship into an album narrative, which kept growing. It kept growing into one of the biggest jokes about her for years. I mean, till this day, people who've only heard like a handful of her songs will use this argument when trying to diss Taylor Swift, or her fan base. But Speak Now was about more than just, exes and lovers. The whole thing was like a collection of letters to friends, song critics. She even had a song on there addressing the Kanye West thing. Bro, the fan base was becoming different, not just casual listeners. We're talking emotionally invested. People felt like they grew up with Taylor, and that emotional connection was becoming stronger with every album. But while Speak Now was making Taylor even bigger, another shift was happening too, because musically, you could tell Taylor was slowly starting to outgrow traditional country music. Like it was too restrictive for the kind of experimenting she wanted to do. The pop sound was getting bigger. The choruses were getting bigger. The audience was getting bigger. She was bursting at the seams. So eventually, that evolution leads directly into the next era. Red, aka the album where Taylor Swift stops being just a country superstar and starts becoming one of the biggest pop artists on the planet. Red feels like the album where Taylor stopped sounding like a teenager, starts sounding like a young woman trying to figure herself out in real time. It's basically a mishmash of love, obsession, heartbreak, confusion, nostalgia, passion, toxicity, and the production reflected that. Like 1 second is all emotional, country pop heartbreak, then the next song sounded like big energy, unapologetic pop anthem vibes. It was Taylor standing in between two worlds, country superstar and future global icon. And the hits on this thing, disgusting. Yo, we're talking about bangers like We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together. Like, yo, I don't care if you like her or not, there's no denying how catchy that joint is. The production is crazy, and you got that We Are Never Ever Ever Getting Back Together. Listen, we're talking I Knew You Were Trouble, bro. We're talking about 22. Bro, these songs were unavoidable. And this is around the time when people who didn't actively listen to Taylor Swift had them songs stuck in their head. But while the music was getting bigger, the public obsession with Taylor's personal life was getting way crazier too. Because now she's not just dating random hometown dudes no more. Now she's linked to celebrities, actors, musicians, and the media became obsessed with tracking her relationships. Actors, musicians, and the media became obsessed with tracking her relationships. Every date became a headline. Every breakup became internet discourse. Every song became, who's this about? And honestly, some of it started getting weird. Like, people weren't even treating Taylor like a person anymore. She became this kind of pop culture character people projected all their opinions to. To some people, she was a genius songwriter. To others, she was boy crazy, just a chick singing about the same thing. To some, she was relatable. To others, she was a calculated industry machine. And the louder Taylor got musically, the louder the backlash became too. But despite all the criticism, Red was a massive success. It came in at #1 on the Billboard charts. 1.2 million copies sold in the first week. And that was like the highest sales in a decade at that time. She became the first artist since the Beatles to have 3 back-to-back albums and spend more than 6 weeks at the Billboard #1 spot. And it wasn't just her fans going crazy. The critics loved the album. She got nominated for Best Country Music Album, and she lost to Kacey Musgraves, which makes sense because Kacey's album leaned into a more traditional country sound. So yeah, fair enough. But Taylor Swift also got nominated for Best Album of the Year. Not country, no pop, just Best Album in general. And yo, based on the commercial success, the critical acclaim, she actually stood a chance. The category was stacked though. We had Daft Punk's Random Access Memories, which gave us the iconic banger Get Lucky featuring Pharrell. You know that one. I'm up all night to have fun, no night to get some. I'm up all night to get lucky. Listen, banger. We had Kendrick Lamar's Good City, Mad City, which was already considered a hip-hop classic. We had The Heist, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, which gave us the world-dominating banger Thrift Shop. We had The Blessed Unrest by Sarah Bareilles, which gave us the viral hit Brave.
The Grammy goes to... Random Access Memories, Daft Punk.
The award goes to Daft Punk, which was well-deserved because that joint's fire. But yo, there's a lot of people who believe that this moment fueled her into her next project. Like, she was like, alright, y'all want an undeniable classic pop album? I got you. And yo, that's exactly what Homegirl did. Instead of playing it safe, instead of trying to stay in everybody's good graces, she completely reinvents herself. New look, living in New York, hanging with models and celebrities, doing up synth pop vibes. 1989 would be her first official pop album, which was a huge risk because genre switching can absolutely destroy careers, especially in country music where fans can feel, low-key betrayed when artists leave the genre behind. You see the same thing in hip-hop. One of the biggest insults you can throw at a rapper is, hey, you sound way too pop now, bro. You sound too commercial. And yo, I've always found it funny. Like, it must be really restrictive being an artist who's struggling to make it and you're making music that's relatable about the grind, about your surroundings, your small town, the things you're going through, and the people love it. They're like, hey, you're describing my life right there. That's so relatable. But then you get super successful, super wealthy, and you're not as relatable anymore. And yo, some artists just carry on, business as usual, making the same songs, acting like they have the same lives they had when they were coming up, doing up open mics in tiny venues. But yo, you get artists who go, you know what? I am now doing arenas and stadiums, and I want to make music that matches that energy, reflects the success and fun that I'm having. And people are like, no, they sold out. I missed the old version of them. Yo, if I ever put out like a sad song, yeah, talking about the grind, struggling to make it, and you know, my self-doubt and pain, and I get a little indie singer to pour her heart out on the hook, and the beat is like this haunting piano, and you guys love it. Everyone on TikTok is using the sound and like sad video edits and stuff, and I blow up overnight, millions of streams. You guys love me. You're like, hey, I can't wait for Maya's new single. That last joint really resonated with me. Prepare to be disappointed. Prepare to be disappointed, because I'm loaded now. I've bought my mom's a house. I'm living comfortably. I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor. I'm getting to eat at restaurants I couldn't afford before. Listen, my next single, we're not bringing back the indie chick for the hook. No. We're getting like Ice Spice. And the beat is like by some Swedish DJ. So yeah, anyway, Taylor was moving like someone that had a point to prove. She wasn't trying to make another Red where it's like a bit of this, a bit of that. Nah, she wanted to make a straight up undeniable pop classic. And bro, she did it. Because 1989 was straight up dopamine in a record. We're talking Shake It Off, bro. Blank Space, Style, Bad Blood, Wildest Dreams. This wasn't just successful, this was cultural domination. And the songs weren't just catchy. Homegirl was cooking with the lyrics. There's like a self-aware energy to the joints. Like in Blank Space, she's low-key making fun of the media's perception of her. Alright, y'all think I'm crazy? Y'all think I'm a manipulative serial dater? Cool, let's make a hit out of that. And another thing happened in the 1989 era. Taylor Swift stopped feeling like just, a musician. She started feeling like a celebrity. And musically, 1989 takes Taylor into another stratosphere. The album debuts at #1. It sells over 1 million copies first week. Again, critics love it. Fans love it. The general public, even people that hated Taylor, knew these songs. You could not escape 1989. And in 2016, she gets nominated for Album of the Year. And again, the category is stacked. We got Kendrick Lamar with To Pimp a Butterfly, which is a bona fide 10 out of 10 hip-hop classic. We got The Weeknd's Beauty Behind the Madness, which gave us the unescapable Can't Feel My Face. We got Alabama Shake's Sound and Color, which was already being hailed as one of the best alternative albums in decades. We got Chris Stapleton's Traveler, an album which holds an all-time record of 552 consecutive weeks on the top country albums chart. This is who Taylor's going up against, right? And she wins, bro. She wins.
Thank you for this moment.
At this point, Taylor Swift isn't just a successful artist anymore. She's becoming one of the defining pop stars of her entire generation. But there's a problem, because while the music is bigger than ever, the backlash is getting bigger too. People were starting to get tired of seeing Taylor everywhere. The media narratives were getting nastier. The internet was getting meaner. And then the Kanye West situation comes back around. Except this time, the public doesn't side with Taylor. Nah, what happens next almost destroys her image completely. Now, remember how back in 2009, the whole Kanye interruption thing actually ended up helping Taylor's image? Yeah, well, years later, the same situation comes back around in the worst possible way. Because in 2016, Kanye West drops the album The Life of Pablo. And on one of the songs, Famous, this man goes, I feel that me and Taylor might still have sex. Why? Because I made that chick famous. Bro. Now, obviously, I said chick because, YouTube and whatnot, but he referred to her as, it starts with B and rhymes with Stitch, right? And the internet lost it, man. Immediately, people are like, yo, what? Now, Taylor's team comes out basically going, Taylor never approved being called that B word. And at first, a lot of people sided with her. They were like, hey, that's so disrespectful. It's unnecessary. Because, people were thinking there's no need. There's no need for this, especially because of how she'd handled the whole thing back then. It was looking like a desperate attempt to stir up some controversy, and be all edgy. It was a bad look for Kanye West. But then Kim Kardashian was like, I need to speak up for my mans, okay? And listen, you gotta understand, 2016 Kim Kardashian was different. This wasn't just a celebrity, this was peak social media Kim K, peak reality TV, peak internet influence era, peak break the internet era. And Kim basically pulls out what looks like receipts. She posts snippets of the phone call conversation between Kanye West and Taylor Swift, discussing the song beforehand. Yeah, like he tells her about the song, you know, he's like, I'm gonna mention you in the track. He asks for her blessing, and she's like, yeah, cool, do your thing, thanks for the heads up. And now suddenly people are looking at Taylor Swift sideways like, wait a minute, you knew? And bro, when I tell you the backlash was insane, I mean insane. People were dropping snake emojis everywhere. Like, oh, you're a snake, you're a snake. Like, snake emojis flooding her comments. People were calling her fake, manipulative, calculated, a professional victim. It got ugly. And low key, this was one of the first major celebrity cancellations of the social media era. Like nowadays, people throw the word canceled and, you know, bullied around for everything. But Taylor in 2016, people genuinely enjoyed hating her for a while. And the crazy thing is, the whole situation was actually more complicated than the memes made it seem. Because yes, Taylor did know Kanye planned to reference her, but according to Taylor, she never heard that line beforehand. And years later, when the full unedited phone call leaks online, it becomes clear that the conversation wasn't exactly how Kim K originally framed it. But by then, the damage was already done, bro. The internet had already decided Taylor Swift was fake, and honestly, this moment, it broke her public image. For the first time in her career, Taylor wasn't the sweetheart anymore. She wasn't the underdog anymore. Now she was the villain. Or at least that's how a lot of folks on the internet saw her. And instead of constantly defending herself and, you know, trying to go, hey guys, you know, chill out, Taylor just disappears. Like really disappears. No interviews, no paparazzi moments, no public appearances. Homegirl basically vanished from the spotlight. And when she finally comes back, she's like, hey, if y'all gonna make me the villain, I'ma be the villain. And that's when she drops Reputation. If I was to invent a celebrity, like I had magic powers or some sci-fi cloning type thing, and I had to invent a celebrity with crazy longevity who could stand the test of time, decades of success, and, you know, die a legend without falling off or getting canceled, the most important feature I would give them would be flaws, inner demons that they struggle with, that the public would be aware of. Because what you don't want to do is create a celebrity who seems too likable, you know, too nice and flawless. Because then everyone's just waiting for a skeleton to pop out the closet. Human beings are not perfect. We're not. And when a celebrity's whole persona is, oh, look at how sweet they are, you know, America's sweetheart, the public holds them up to a higher standard. Think about it. If you're like a cute pop star who sings about love at first sight and fairy tales, you know, or Disney princess vibes, and then an image leaks of you at a party in like a revealing outfit on the dance floor, throwing it around in a circle, outrage. But if you're a rock chick in a band that's loud and chaotic and you swear, you know, and you're crowd surfing, bro, an image could leak of you buck naked, getting wasted, and everyone's like, yeah, that seems about right. If from the jump, Taylor's image was a bit rough around the edges, opinionated, if she was like Madonna in the 80s, then the whole Kanye West thing would have just been, you know, a tiny little blip. But instead, we get this whole thing. And this was before people started talking about mental health and online hate all the time. And the internet in the mid-2010s, bro, it was vicious. You couldn't open YouTube without seeing a Taylor Swift exposed thumbnail. And again, that's my point. If I was a celebrity, I'd want to be the kind of celebrity you can't expose, because I'm already exposed. So, for the first time in her career, you got people exposing her, saying, hey, she sucks, and her fans are fighting for their life. Like, no, she doesn't. Taylor Swift lost control of the narrative, or at least it looked that way. But then Homegirl came back and the energy was different. Taylor decides to lean into the villain image, which was honestly genius. It's very hip hop. When Eminem dropped that album and everybody was like, this is garbage, he came back with an album dissing everybody. Critics, rappers, people who didn't like him, their mamas, everybody. This was Taylor Swift's version of that. She dropped the first single from the album, Look What You Made Me Do. And yo, the production on this thing is disgusting. It's hard and dark. The hook sounds menacing and in your face. There's a line where she goes, I'm sorry, the old Taylor can't come to the phone right now. Why? Oh, 'cause she's dead. And that energy carries on into the music video. Like it starts off with her literally burying the 1989 version of herself. There's all this symbolism everywhere. Everything was darker, theatrical. She touches on the media, old versions of herself, the snake memes. The whole thing felt petty, okay? And again, I have to make the comparison to hip hop. Because in hip hop, when something happens to a rapper publicly, like, they go through something, when their next album drops, we are expecting them to at least touch on it. But pop music, for the most part, it doesn't have the same personal touch to it. You can listen to a pop artist's entire catalog, like listen to all their music, and you have no idea what they were going through in real life. Like you watch a documentary and go, wow, they were going through a divorce? They got hit with bankruptcy? Like what? None of that is reflected in the music. So I think it's awesome that she was able to go, hey, this is where I'm at, and she was able to package it in a catchy pop banger. She basically took everything people hated about her and turned it into an aesthetic. And honestly, the reactions were mixed, okay? Some people loved it. Others were like, yo, what is this? But whether people loved it or hated it, people were talking about it. It debuted at #1 in the US, Canada, UK, across the world. And the album itself wasn't just revenge aesthetics and snake imagery. This is low-key one of the first times we really see Taylor addressing the fame, and she sounds exhausted by it. She sounds paranoid, defensive, trying to figure out who she can trust. Like beneath the bad girl persona, you can hear somebody trying to survive being one of the most publicly dissected women on earth. And despite all the backlash, Reputation still sells like crazy. Tours sold out, fans showed up, the machine kept moving, which proved something really important. The internet might clown Taylor Swift constantly, but her connection with her audience was way stronger than social media narratives. And honestly, that ability to survive public humiliation, reinvent herself, and come back bigger every single time, that is part of why Taylor Swift became this generational icon. But here's the crazy thing, right? After all the darkness of Reputation, the next chapter of Taylor's career goes in a completely different direction. In 2019, she drops Lover. The colors are brighter, the music is softer, the whole vibe feels warmer and more romantic. It's got like a timeless feel to it, and lyrically, it's a lot more self-aware. It's not like, hey, this relationship didn't work out because the person was garbage. Nah, it's more like, what part did I play? Like on this one joint called Afterglow, she goes, blue things out of proportion, now you're blue. Put you in jail for something that you didn't do. I pinned your hands behind your back. Oh, thought I had a reason to attack, but no. Fighting with a true love is boxing with no gloves. Chemistry till it blows off, till there's no us. Why'd I have to break what I love so much? It's on your face and I'm to blame. I need to say, hey, it's all me. In my head, I'm the one who burned us down, but it's not what I meant. Sorry that I hurt you. I don't wanna do this to you. I don't wanna lose this with you. I meant to say, hey, it's all me. Just don't go. Meet me in the afterglow. Like, lyrically, there's a lot of introspection going on. The joint was super well received. It sounded like Homegirl was trying to find some peace again, right? But behind the scenes, yo, there was a huge business battle brewing, because around this time, Taylor finds out that the masters of her first 6 albums, basically the original recordings of the music that made her famous, had been sold. And the person attached to the deal, Scooter Braun. Now, for most people outside the music industry, this might sound boring at first, like, whatever, rich people arguing about paperwork, whatever. But nah, this was deep and personal to Taylor, because these weren't just random songs, bro. This was her childhood, her heartbreaks, diary entries, her entire legacy, the music she'd spent years building. Like, what do you mean I don't own what I created? And Taylor was very vocal about how hurt she was by the whole situation, especially because she felt she was never really given a fair opportunity to own her own work. Now, most artists in this situation, they complain, maybe sue, maybe rant online. Taylor, nah. Homegirl came up with one of the pettiest and smartest business moves in modern music history. She went, alright, cool, I'ma just record their albums then. And bro, that's exactly what she did. Taylor started recording her old albums under the title Taylor's Version. And this wasn't just nostalgia bait. This became a movement. Fans started intentionally streaming the new versions instead of the originals, which meant Taylor was slowly reclaiming control of her own catalog in real time. And honestly, think about that, man. The level of fan loyalty required to pull something like this off is insane. Because most artists could never convince millions of people to basically replace entire classic albums with re-recorded versions. But Taylor did. And that's when you realize this fan base isn't just supporting her songs. They are supporting her. And while all this was happening, the world suddenly changes, man. Y'all already know, 2020, the pandemic hits. Everybody locked inside. The world slows down. No arenas, no massive tours, no celebrity spectacle. And weirdly enough, this ends up unlocking a completely different side of Taylor Swift creatively. Because instead of dropping another giant pop blockbuster, Taylor pivots again, this time into something quieter, more reflective, more indie inspired. And that's when she drops Folklore. And bro, this album shocked people. Critics were shooketh, because this was a side of her no one had seen before. For my hip-hop fans, this was the equivalent of an artist like Flo Rida or Pitbull dropping a surprise album and it sounds like Nas's Illmatic. Homegirl cooked up a stripped-back, emotional storytelling album that had critics comparing her to indie folk legends. And it wasn't just critics going crazy. The album broke a bunch of records. It was the first album to sell over 1 million copies in 2020. She won Album of the Year at the Grammys, making her the first woman in history to win the thing 3 times. And just to prove it wasn't a fluke, 5 months later, she drops Evermore, which is like the sister album to Folklore. And critics thought the lyricism and storytelling was even better on this joint. She gets nominated for Best Album of the Year after just winning with Folklore, which was crazy. And somehow, after all this reinvention, all these controversies, all these internet wars, Taylor Swift still wasn't done, because in 2022, she drops Midnights. Which is crazy, because after Folklore and Evermore, this could have been her forever lane. Like, I'm just gonna do up some indie folk joints, right into my old age. But nah, she was like, I got some synth pop bangers I need to drop. The concept of the album is still clever though. It's like 13 sleepless nights scattered throughout her life. And yo, when this dropped, it crashed the Spotify servers. The biggest first week streams of an album in history at the time. She won the 2024 Album of the Year award. And then she announces the Eras Tour. And this thing became a cultural event. Like, bro, people weren't just attending concerts. They were treating this thing like Avengers Endgame. friendship bracelets, custom outfits. People were planning their entire vacations around tickets. Cities literally benefiting economically when Taylor came to town. Like, whether you personally listened to her music or not, you felt the presence in pop culture. And somehow during all of this, Taylor becomes even more mainstream because now she's dating NFL superstar Travis. And this relationship, it turns into a whole pop culture phenomenon by itself. Suddenly, NFL fans are talking about Taylor Swift. Swifties are learning football. Sports media is discussing album drops. It was crazy. And what was fascinating was seeing how even now, after nearly 2 decades in the spotlight, people were still obsessed with psychoanalyzing Taylor Swift's relationships, still decoding lyrics, still projecting narratives onto her personal life, which becomes extra obvious when she drops the Tortured Poets Department. And bro, the internet had thoughts, okay? Listen, my timeline was full of people clipping little sections from songs and talking about them. There were people just like clowning some of the lyrics. Like, there's a joint where she's being all vulnerable, like, you know, wearing a heart on her sleeve, singing, you know, like, I'm not a bad chick. Like, she's being all vulnerable and insecure. And like, people are laughing at her, like, hey, look at that. She's insecure because of Travis's exes. Listen, I don't know about all of that. I try to not get into the whole gossipy stuff, but some people were really clowning this joint. Some people did love the raw emotional writing, like, you know what, this is dope. But like I said, a lot of the discourse was kind of people, you know, clowning certain lyrics nonstop. People were calling it over dramatic, overwritten, you know, Tumblr poetry energy. And honestly, that right there perfectly sums up Taylor Swift's entire career. Because no matter how successful she becomes, no matter how many records she breaks, no matter how many awards she wins, some people just don't rock with her. People mock her, they underestimate her, they still analyze everything she does. I think that's what makes Taylor Swift such a fascinating character. Because usually when somebody becomes this successful, this famous, this powerful, the world eventually agrees on them. Like, eventually the conversation settles. But with Taylor Swift, it's been almost 2 decades and people still can't decide what she is. To some people, she's one of the greatest songwriters of her generation. To others, she's overrated. To some people, she's authentic and emotionally honest. She wears her heart on her sleeves. To others, she's calculated and performative. Some people hear vulnerability, others hear corniness. And honestly, maybe that's the secret, because Taylor Swift never really became cool in the traditional sense. She didn't become untouchable like Beyonce. She didn't become, you know, effortlessly mysterious like Frank Ocean and them. She didn't become universally loved and respected like Adele. Nah, Taylor Swift was seen as awkward, emotional, try hard sometimes, over dramatic sometimes, corny sometimes, petty sometimes, but also undeniably ambitious, focused, resilient, creative, self-aware, clever, and insanely adaptable. And that's why even people who don't like her still talk about her. Because you can't ignore somebody who keeps reinventing themselves every time the world thinks they figured them out. We're talking country star, pop star, villain, indie songwriter, business mastermind, a cultural phenomenon. Most artists spend their whole careers just trying to survive one era, just trying to keep their head above water. Taylor Swift somehow just kept banging out different phases and eras and doing it big. And yo, whether you personally love the music or not, you gotta respect the longevity. You gotta respect the songwriting. You gotta respect the way she turned criticism into fuel over and over again. You gotta respect the fact that a teenage girl writing diary entries with the guitar somehow became one of the biggest artists in human history. Like, bro, we're talking about somebody who dominated country music, conquered pop music, survived cancellation, reinvented herself multiple times, re-recorded her own catalog, and turned a concert tour into a global event. That's not normal. That's icon status. Hey yo, listen, the biggest compliment I can give Taylor Swift is this. even the people who clown her the most still know the lyrics. And that right there, that's legacy. Yeah, man, give Taylor Swift her flowers. Hey, yo, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Please give the video a like. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We're over here cooking up all kinds of stuff, man. It's unhinged. It's all over the place. But yo, come through. Rock with us. You know what I'm saying? One of us. I'll be back with the next joint. Till then, you take care of yourself, fam, 'cause I love you.